You love most salacious items.
Yeah, that's a good question. I was gonna ask it.
Here, I do it.
Well, I tried throwing it in. I tried pasting it into Gemini,
Okay.
and Gemini, in its infinite wisdom, I pasted in text, right?
Yeah.
Notepad, open it in Gemini. Gemini says, "Thank you for providing this guide. Unfortunately, I'm gonna this looks like very small lines." It's like, seriously, Google, you didn't figure out how to take a text dump and figure it out? It was bad. Yeah. So anyway,
It's not used. Yeah. But.
They want to present on it. Do they let people know beforehand or? Yeah.
That dude is small enough. So people buy enough.
Okay. Oh, no, it's my first time here and I think it's a great concept, you know, just presenting ideas. You get 6 minutes. I got 6 minutes. You got it already set. Yeah. My name's Paul. I know it's not good. I like to hear you guys been here before. Come to that booth. Water. It's working.
I think there are man all those days. You get the blanket so serious. Could you man up meetings like if I know what's stuff.
All right. So if anybody hasn't been here before, welcome to the Sector67 meetings. We basically do like a 7-minute talks on projects people are working on or whatnot. December is always a quiet month, so this month is the one where everybody's busy doing other things. But I stumbled across something. So EJ and I are going to go first. John is here as well, so he can espouse conspiracy theories. No, he helped me early on. And then Adrian's going to talk about some projects that he's been working on as well. So I was on the City of Madison website a couple weeks back, and I was looking at our permitting. So permitting licensing is a portal in the City of Madison, and I noticed that there's a new button on here. And the city has always had this report a problem, but they now have a button on this site that's report a problem. And I was like, what the hell's that? So I clicked on it. And it had report a problem, which is like you can complain about some problem in the city. But then more interestingly, it said search problems / requests. And me being any good internet user, of course, there's a button, you got to click on it and see what it does. So I clicked on it to see what was out there. And I initially put in some parameters and it pulled up specific things. And then I realized you can just hit search and it'll just pull up everything in chronological order. Because I was contemplating how to go through generate these reports. They look like they're in numeric order, but it wasn't initially obvious that was what they were doing. And then you can see problem complaints reports on the city, which is interesting. So the city's always had this portal, and this was the way that citizens can complain about a thing to get it fixed. But they've never had it public. Now, of course, because it's the City of Madison's public anyways, you could submit a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, and ask for the data. That's a huge pain in the ass, and you'd have to specify what you wanted and whatever else. But it looks like the city is rolling out as of September of this year, this going straight to online. So I guess if you've ever complained about a thing in the last 3 months, maybe you can start getting nervous now. So when you click on a specific report, it pulls up the location, the property owner, it pulls up the parcel information. But then the interesting part is it actually has the full text complaint. So it has the entire complaint, including actually the complainer and the complainee information, which I contacted the city. This is way earlier this month and said, hey, I don't know if you realize this, but you might not want to put people's email addresses and phone numbers on there. So the city is aware that they have the email addresses and phone numbers on there and they have not curtailed it.
Didn't.
I hope that they fix that, but that's up to them. I mean, it is public data that's being submitted. My other suggestion was that they should at least acknowledge on their form when you're submitting a thing that this data is all public and it will be posted in its entirety. There are some full text complaints that are a little more involved. So their city obviously is dealing with a lot of things, and they've got a lot going on there. So the interesting part, and what I was kind of leveraging some folks around here for, was like, how do you go through this data and how do you turn it into something interesting or useful to look at? My theory over the years has always been that there's like a few people who complain about a lot of things. So this was a really interesting way to look into that. Like, is there actually a few people complaining about a lot of things, or is it just literally one person complaining about lots of things, or are there many people complaining about lots of things? So this is an example of periodically I get contacted by the city. We're a property owner, and the city will say, "Hey, there's some huge problem. You got to fix your stuff." Yada yada yada. So this was from this August. So I got the letter from the city that said, "Oh, your thing's a mess, whatever." But it was fun to look at what the city was getting then to force me to have to go trim the weeds. The funny bit is that we're actually growing food out in front. We have strawberries, mints. There's some Solomon seal in there, which does produce berries, and they're kind of edible, but maybe not so much. And then we have tons of raspberries. So actually, all of our stuff in the terrace is edible as best as we can make it, without being super obnoxious. But no, I don't go out and like trim all the edges of all the things to keep it perfect all the time. So, at any rate, EJ is going to steal my screen share on Zoom. And
My audios.
what's that? You should just mute it. I can spin us around. Yep. Question? Yeah.
Well, you said they put the full complaint in there. Do they with expletives and everything?
The full complaint is there. Expletives and everything.
All right, great.
Yes.
Yeah, and especially people who are right. Oh, and would you like to have your contact? Like, please do not contact me. I do not want to be.
Yeah, I think all that's in there.
And it's right there. And then name and address.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to look at this, it's on the City of Madison. We'll steal this. EJ, I'm buying you time here, buddy. If anybody wants to take a look at this, it's on the City of Madison website. Like I said, you hit report problem, hit search problems. And then if you hit search, it'll show up down here with all the things. And then, like I said, this has got the text of some of them. Others of them you got to click in to see whatever it is. The interesting ones there, it seems to be that the city gets like 3 to 10 things a day. So depending on the day, seems to depend. A lot of this stuff is like yard waste collection. I think a lot of people are paranoid their leaves aren't going to get picked up this time of year. So there's just tons of that. And then the intriguing ones sometimes are the actual housing complaints or what people are concerned about. So you want to take over the deal share?
Sure. Some web scraping and some
Oh no.
chat GPT
Interesting.
summarization could make a great tell you everything you want to know about it.
Yeah, the city doesn't have a robots.txt policy, meaning that they just don't have anything. So you could scrape the site. You should of course throttle if you're scraping the site, so you aren't destroying things for the city. But so EJ, I don't know. I got the mic point idea, so you can be decent.
So this is basically the data that Chris gave me. He gave me a CSV file. I started by just importing it here. And so this is essentially everything that's in the original CSV. Anybody who's been here kind of length of time will certainly talk about Airtable. This is Airtable. Let me zoom in and make this so it's easy to see. So the reason I like Airtable is it lets us both look at data, but also kind of model it in multiple dimensions. So the permit types, for example, here, it's got different kinds of things. A bunch of them are snow, a bunch of them are leaves, some of them are refuse collection. So in here, we can group by status, for example, and we can see in here, just a smidge. So by status, there's 35 where the city's awaiting information. There are 116 that were rejected for some reason. 275 were closed. Almost 2/3 of them, there's 3,500 altogether. About 2,000 of those were they notified the agency, and that's they're done with that. They forwarded the message on, and it's up to that agency to figure out what's going on. And then there's almost 800 that are sort of in progress in some state. So these are the raw complaints. We can look at it by status. We could look at it by phone number. So most of them don't have a phone number. 2,000 out of the 3,500, almost half don't have one. This one guy is really not happy. He's got 22 concerns about all kinds of different addresses. Some part of them are still in progress. Some get rejected. And yeah, they're mostly housing concerns throughout.
But the interesting one is the addresses are all over the place.
The addresses are all over the place versus if we look at this, so then there's 7 and 6. there's a really small tail, so relatively quickly, out of the 3,500, we're down to people who have 2. And then there's the rest, we're down to 1, and all the rest of these, it's just one person making it.
So my theory shot to shit.
I see
here.
that.
Yes.
I
It's just
figured
good.
there'd be more
people's
parents or kiddos out there.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That's weird.
You know, that was my assumption too, was that there was like, but it's actually interesting. So we were scrolling through the data and you'll run into a few people who are like, there's one person I saw earlier, I don't remember where the record was, but they lived on East Wash. And they went down Williamson Street and like, literally like one address on Williamson Street and another address on Williamson, there was like 8 complaints all along Williamson Street of this person complaining about weeds.
But EJ, that's data, you're sorting by phone number, what if they don't do the phone numbers, or other ways to?
Yeah, so half of them don't have a phone number.
So that's where we'd have to dig into names.
And
look
at
at
this
names
point,
and
we're looking,
names.
this is the parcels. So this is now broken down by parcel number,
We see what parcels complained about the most, parcel being the address,
parcel being the address, so there's 11 complaints about this specific address.
all about vegetation.
All
This
about
one right here?
vegetation.
No.
Oh, no,
that
no,
should be.
this one, the one I'm highlighting here, this parcel 0708, etc. 2 of them are trash related, this junk trash debris, this junk trash debris. And then as we look through these different parcels, like this guy, it's mostly a collection issue. This guy, it's mostly snow and ice, they're doing their collection stuff like today, but. And as you look through, you can sort of see patterns, this could all be data that we could analyze further, we haven't spent out.
I gave EJ about 45 minutes to figure this out, so with 0 notice, of course, as is the sector way.
As is the sector way. So in the complaints, we had looked at the different views by phone number and so on. And the last one is by permit type, which is this kind of thing. So they're almost 600 out of the 3,000 are about weeds. Lawn care, effectively, a bunch of things related to collections and housing and snow and ice removal. I mean, many.
I'll go down to the bottom, or was, yeah, there we go. So there's one mailbox damaged by plow. That was one person got their mailbox smoked by the plow.
Is that a custom drop down, or is that actually on this list of?
It's just one.
That's on the list of the types, so the city's got categories, yeah, so there's a possibility, there's actually.
This is in the last 3 months, so that was over.
It's early in the
I don't
season.
really understand
Yeah.
how it plows out.
See after a winter, how many.
Oh, because it wasn't actually by a plow, you see if you read the description.
Yeah,
This is the closest one I could find that was.
but.
So I
Damn.
in the complaints,
Sure.
we've got the stuff that it reported, the permit type, the address line 2. I was gonna do zip code, but I ended up not doing that. The status, whether it's closed or open or in progress or whatever. But then I also added a
For the purpose of this, we've hidden the email address and the phone number, but we're using that phone number, the email address to know these things to associate.
So I have the street, which basically just removes the number and gives just the street number. And so then that goes over here to a list of streets. And so then Chris wanted to know which streets are complaining about which other streets. Not like he has a vendetta or anything, but
There's an interesting, so the thing is with the data set like this is trying to think of like what might turn up a unique, like entertaining factoid. The one was, wasn't it Williamson Street's like one of the most complaining streets?
yeah, so these 7 are 1.3 times as likely to be complained about than they are to be a complainer. So, and then this goes up 1.3, 1.4, 1.8, 2. So these guys are the most likely to be complained about. These guys are twice as likely to be complained about.
But you'll notice all the data is small numbers, so the
Yeah.
swing is huge, so it's like 2 to 4, so it's not really.
So, yeah, there's, the numbers are all relatively small, so take it with a grain of salt.
But as this data set gets bigger, it'll get more interesting, right? You'll get more and more information.
It'll get more reliable. On the other side, the complainers, there's a guy down at the bottom, there's a number down, these are just phone numbers. So this phone number, this street rather in this case, is 10 times as likely, but it's only 10 to 1. It's 10 to 1 now. So it had 1 complaint lodged against it. It complained about 10 other streets. Whereas up here, then there's 7 times, so again, we got a couple of streets here that are pretty likely to do the complaining, Williamson Street. Here we got 53 to 3, that's not nothing. That's not a completely nothing thing. And then we've also got by phone number, so here's where we can see this particular phone number, this one that had 22 complaints, 12 of them were about trash. They're about people not collecting their refuse. So here's the actual complaint.
It was that they left their trash can at the curb for too long.
Yeah, so trash cans on the terrace, extremely loud exhaust fan, bushes overgrown, trash, junk trash. Carts left, trash cans left on the terrace. Ah! Whoever's at this phone number is not a happy camper. And yeah, addresses all over the place. Like there's 3 addresses.
There's a lot of them downtown.
It's like Aaron's like
Almost all downtown.
Think about the bathroom size being too small and what.
Yeah, they were like, yeah.
So looking at this list per phone number, like there's this one outlier that 22, but then we're already down to like 6, 5, 4, 3, and then we're down, this is out of 3,000. So we're now down to 2, and pretty quickly, the tail of this thing is just 1. There's just one phone number, that phone number is just reporting something that happened, something you saw, sometimes it's.
So can we see if the numbers are going up or down? Like the number of complaints, like.
So that was,
Improving as a city?
this is only 3 months.
This only, yeah, it's way too
So
short.
as we grow, or if we did a FOIA request and got all the historical data, because they have it,
Yeah.
we could then backfill it with all that data. And then this would be
Offer
Having
to
a city
build their database for them.
Well, so the other interesting one, if anybody has API credits for map lookups, the other interesting one would be do a heat map. Because that's the visualization of where these addresses are, would probably be one of the most interesting ones. Was that
From OpenStreetMap?
Oh, yeah, you can use OpenStreetMap, yeah. The point is somebody, nebulous somebody,
Sure.
sorry. Could do these are the addresses, these are the targets. You could do like a web map to show like this address led to whatever.
Here's the houses not to buy.
Yeah, all of
Yeah,
the ones, the tails that are all at different phone numbers and different streets and are very distributed, almost certainly.
Yeah, as I said, heat map will show.
Open data, Madison open data.
So Madison has an open data portal. This is not in it,
Let's see sector.
but this will be.
But you could plug these addresses into that to show that feedback.
Oh, you could, yeah, certainly.
So how many complaints do we have?
Yes, that's.
Well, there's only 1 in 3 months. That's because the
Only
crazy
one.
guy who complained every day moved out, like a couple of years back.
Well, I'll start, so.
I mean, pretend
that
that
for
last
one address?
Oh, yeah, you can call, that's the other interesting one is there's no data validation. So like anyone can put in anybody's name.
That's like the guy that's actually got 22 complaints is.
Who knows? Yeah, it could be. It's just EJ.
It's his
calling.
neighbor.
Trying.
Trying to make it look good.
Anybody got questions, comments,
So,
thoughts?
so EJ, you've got a bunch of data,
Yeah.
Chris.
It's right here if anybody wants. it,
And-
but,
But did that come in the format of a column row spreadsheet?
It is now, yes.
No, but I
It's-
mean, I'm just, I'm kind of longer conversation, but how did you create this Airtable from that data? Or was it like a?
I'm actually doing it right now, so I just created a formula, so this is a good example. Here, there's an address that is Verona, Wisconsin, 53593. So I created a formula called zip. That just is that the right 5. But so now, one of the things I can do right away is I can say group, let me just create a new view here.
To answer your question, Sean, I gave him a CSV file on a thumb drive, and then it's just file import CSV, and then Airtable. You could do the same thing to Excel or anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whatever your favorite.
So what I can then do is I can group. This is largely what this presentation was based on, and I can collapse it, and I can see there's one in this zip code, and that in general, like 53703, there's a bunch. The 53704 is the like worst at this point. Yeah, that's
the east side.
Wait, what's the?
that's 53704.
That's the lack of data validation.
That's a good one for LA.
Yeah.
That always shows up.
Somebody used their home address.
Is there a 90210?
No, there was like a 99999.
Well, there you go. That's just touching stuff down.
And now
Yeah,
it's
so
just,
collection, so then we could subgroup by this. And that will show us within that zip code that the weeds and overgrown. Whereas if we went and looked at another zip code, potentially, most of them would be collection issues or
Yeah, we got it.
Oh, nice film. So,
Any other questions, from anybody? DJ, let me steal the screen back for a second. I was just gonna share, so John, early on when I got this, I asked John, who I knew did, data visualization stuff. He shared a course, an Apple proprietary, program. But it's called Wizard Mac, so if anybody's got an Apple, it's free to try and play with. It actually does, and I did download it on the Apple and played with it for a little bit.
So as a hypocrite who works on open source software, but loves this, it is made by just some guy in Chicago. His name is Evan Miller. He's very chill.
wow.
One of those like, it's not even a mom and pop shop, it's just a pop shop. But it works really well and it's really fast for database. So if you do that as part of your job, you should just have this. Like, it's worth buying a Mac Mini. Let's do it.
Yeah.
It produced a pie chart and a bunch of charts very instantaneously from the just throwing the data at it. So it was interesting. It made me boot up an Apple computer. I'm a Windows, fanboy. So at any rate, Adrian, are you good? So like I said, you can pull up you can bring your computer up here. Just bring your board with you, it's fine. If you want, it's up to you.
Let's see.
So then you can set it right here, and then if you got, yep, you got it.
That's kind of like the lobster.
So then if you got your screen.
This is like.
It'll be on. So, audio, everybody. Here you go. And then I don't know if you want sound or not, but just hit share. So you can see over here what we have. You're good. All right, Adrian, take it away.
Okay, I want to share a project that we just finished with Kazuya. He's over there.
Hello.
Hi. Well, one client hired us to do a counter. And as you can see, the counter is very messy. And she needed help to improve for the holidays. So we worked together. She gave me this as an inspiration. And she was talking a lot about drawers, shelves, and it's not something that I usually do. But I just was hanging out with Kasia, and he's very good. And so we partnered for this project. It was great because this was more like a cabinet making project. So I did this work with him. It was very nice. So the store is Hive. They sell clothes for outdoors. And thinking about Hive and thinking about how to use the CNC, I was presenting this idea, but she didn't like it. Yeah. So then we moved very fast, and I was thinking also in Hive, and I asked. I think I did this with DALI. And it's very cool now with the AI, and 10 seconds you can create a very cool image. But then you need to make it. So I think it was going to be a lot of work. And then I was thinking with the hexagons, and I am partnered with a guy from Japan, and I saw this, and we were talking about, what is the name of this?
Yes. It's called a Naguri.
Naguri. Yeah. So, and we were thinking, let's use this pattern. Let's go with the hexagon, but let's make it a little bit with imperfection. And we were talking with the client about that, and she was excited about that, but she wanted all the cabinet part. And then, well, we moved forward, we put all the measurements, we present this image of the idea. And then we started to do some samples. And all these samples were done by with the drill press and some ball nose bits. And I think, and I was feeling that we were going in the right direction, but the thing is like, we needed to make like 8 feet by 32. It's very hard to do it with the drill press, and we were trying with some jigs, but the jigs were doing it like ovals instead of circles. So I was a little bit of picky how I wanted the pattern, and we tried with different sides. Yeah, we tried with different scrapers, and when we were trying the yellow bit, I showed that to Chris, and he told me, "No way, you are going to put that in the CNC." Because you are going to break all the bearings on the CNC. And I was thinking, oh, I can create a pattern, just put dots, and the CNC was going to do one by one. But he said, no way. So
The big problem is the drill press spins very slowly, and the CNC spins very fast with no power behind it. So it'll things.
So he catch me in time. And so, and then we say, okay, well, we go and we do the CNC, but this is with the 1 inch ball nose bit. And it was working very well. We put the lines with the grain of the wood. It was taking a little bit long, but it was working. So I was able to control the depth, how big. It was easy because every change that I wanted to do was going to be in the computer. But I was to create the pattern. I create like a masterpiece, like a tile, and you can repeat that tile in 2 directions, or 4 directions, and you can create the side that you want. So it was a little bit tricky to make when you repeat, so you don't see the seam. But with this master, you can repeat and you don't see the seam. And this is the master, how it looks. I think it looks very cool. And also it looks very cool when I was looking in the screen, when I was in the CNC, how the lines look. I like how this looks like it's very organic, it looks like water. And you can see there the lines of the CNC. And we decided to keep the lines because you need to be very close to see them, and it looks cool, and it saves us a lot of work. So, and then we went to the drawing of the curve. We create some flat pieces and we try to bend it, but we started with the wrong type of wood because we were using birch, because in the store they were having all birch. But then I asked ChatGPT, what are the ranking of the best woods to bend, to steam bend? And it was not in the list. So the number 1 is white oak. So, but I look for that late because I already have the wood and I already have this part. And when we were trying to bend the birch, was not working. And also it's not very flat. It's like this irregular. So we ended going and making the cover with a solid piece, split in half, and then joining the piece. And I think it looks very cool. Then I don't have a good picture, it's very dark, but you can see now how all the cabinet is working very well, and Cassie did a very good job there. We put some lights in the counter. And I don't have pictures because we finish and 1 minute later the customer sent her. It's very typical. So I don't have now, but you can see Cassie working, finishing the toe kick. The client is happy. They're happy too.
Cool. Adrian, how long did it take to do the big panel? For example, like on the round, how much cutting time on
The first time or the second?
the finish?
No, the big one was 5 hours.
5 hours.
Yeah,
That's actually like 30, well, I'd say 3 by 8.
3 by 8.
First one we did was a 3 by 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a pretty big chunk, but like you can have a big.
Big
machine and then, it's a good thing, we can just walk it away,
Yes.
you know, watch it.
Wow.
Yeah, so. Actually, yeah, we tried the band, when the curved one was a part of that you could see the grain that the girl field, that you didn't cut around it. Well, so didn't work out well.
Did you try to, like, you made a 10
I
foot
did
to
curve
curve
the
that?
back.
You curved the back?
It was actually, it could be more because if I made it that I did. Because it's weird, it's hard. Hey, gotta go. Yeah, but actually end up okay, doing two story pattern, a story piece to put it together. But also, it's such a tiny areas, it's hard to bend.
Yes.
Begin with.
And you bring scallops in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
So
worst.
actually,
Stiffeners.
we did was when we put it together, long piece corner, the other side of the shelf. We have to kind of blend it with the pattern with just a hand carving to make it all kind of like continuation. But
In the corner, it's very solid now, yes.
like
Solid.
oil.
So from the highs to the lows, what was the depth of the feature? I mean, how deep were you cutting at the lowest points?
I went 0.2 inches.
One,
Not much.
yeah.
Okay, so it's a very shallow scale.
Yeah,
And what was
yeah, from the height to the top, the bottom part is 0.2, the maximum.
Had a ball in this?
Yeah, you just use a ball nose cutter. And he's using an
Ball nose.
inch. If you make it smaller, you can go really, like, it's just all on what you want your step over to be.
And you said you had a pretty generous step over, so
Yeah.
Yes, 7%. But I did, here in the corner, I use a 1/4 inch bit. And in the,
Yeah, I think you changed the bit this time, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
came back
because
to-
I wanted to be more precise there. Because I was seeing this I made with the stinger, with the. What is it, master?
Can't master.
Yeah. And the other one I did with the big one. And I don't know, it was looking different.
The big router has some velocity, some differences in velocity control, so the stinger is really slow. So the stinger is precise, but very slow. The big router is very fast, but we give it more tolerance. So what you're seeing, Adrian, is the tolerance stack essentially, where the big router, you're saying, go really fast, the router's going, I can go really fast.
Yeah, it was.
And then it's
going
getting
fast,
a little less
but
precise, yeah.
Going up and down,
Yeah.
maybe not so precise.
Yep.
The flat, the 2D part, maybe it's very precise, but in 3D is, I don't know, maybe I was going too fast.
was this was a single pass, so the whole cut,
Yes.
just back and up. Okay.
It's only going 0.2 down, that's not a big deal. The inch cutter, you could.
Oh, yeah, no, but if you wanted to spend a few days on, you could have.
Oh,
had it
yeah.
go
Yeah, you could have
Yeah,
made this
you-
like
Beautiful water line,
not
not
touch
touch
it,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a cool aesthetic.
Actually, the kind of, I didn't like the little streak, the wood grain, because it became so uniform, family uniform. So we sort of got the scraping and nice and clean. But then again, actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's so uniform.
It's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Make it a little more texture.
But
One.
when we were using the big beads with the drill press, they were very sharp, but still they were leaving some marks. And with the CNC you didn't see the marks, so it was very easy to clean.
So can you go back to where you generated it, the stamp you called it? Were those just spheres of various sizes in different layouts?
No, shot one size.
One size sphere,
Yeah, because at some point I said, okay, I want maybe 2 inches and this there. And I grabbed like a sphere, I put the sphere there, and then, well, I don't have here, but I create a pattern. I repeat, and then I was moving by hand, and then this is the matter, I have like a slaves, and I was moving and see what's happening. I was taking my computer needed a lot of, I don't know, memory, but yeah, they are all spheres.
All the same size, just with laid out on or kind of,
Yeah,
not a random grid, but.
it's my random. Because
Okay, yeah, but you just really to make it look right.
there are software that they can give you this, they call Voronoi, or there are some mathematic things that you can do, but it's like, I can do it myself, and I'm going to be faster than learn all that.
So the intersections look like straight lines when you look at it head on, but they're actually scallops like this, just not as deep.
It's better.
Are you adjusting any of the heights of your spheres?
No.
They're all planar. Yeah,
No,
so
they are all the same height.
you're just seeing the interference or the stacking of it.
But because one is like this, and if you interfere them, and with the other one, maybe you have higher points.
Yeah.
But the bottom is all the same.
But those lines in between two spheres is actually an arc in
Yes.
C as well then.
Uh-huh,
Okay, good. Yeah.
uh-huh. Yeah,
So you drew the spheres and then you did a cut extrude on a plane?
He flipped it and used it as a cutter.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, what I do is I create this, and then I create another block,
Solid,
and
yeah.
I put it there and I reset. Like,
Yeah.
and then I cut on the excess.
But if you use the stinger, were you using like recurve or did you use fusion?
It's Aspire for all of it.
You use Fireball.
Yeah, and Aspire is just mows the lawn, to be clear. So it's just going across and going up, down, up, down, up, down, and it moves over a little bit and goes up, down, up, down. It just goes back and forth. It's super naive. It doesn't do water lines or pencil lines or anything smart.
So I know Chris shot you down, but if it wasn't an issue with the router, probably the speed, right? Speed and power.
The issue is you need a shaper because
Was your initial thought that you were gonna buy a tool the size of your sphere?
Yep.
And then, so each one of those literally just would have been a single plunge down to depth, move over to a new point, okay?
And that's how his original ones were built on the drill press. They just set a depth stop and just pulled it down and hit a spot, moved over, hit a spot.
Yeah, I got some pieces here.
Yeah, the issue is you gotta distract the audience. That's the key trick. Hand her on the pit, then get out of questions fast. The good thing with the CNC is it let him vary the sphere size, so you can play with it.
Yeah,
Because as soon as you buy a bit, you're fixed. But the issue with the CNC is that the minimum speed on the router to have any power is 10,000 RPM. With a
Yeah.
2.5-inch cutter, they're not balanced. If you bought a balanced cutter that was ground, it would be fine to spin it fast, but you'll still burn all your wood because you're spinning.
You
too
wouldn't
fast
have a
again.
consistent cut, yeah.
Yeah, so what you need is like a 5 horsepower, 500 to a couple thousand RPM, like a drill press.
Yeah.
Not a 10 to 22,000 RPM. router.
Yeah.
So it's the difference between a router.
If you had a purpose-built head
Yes,
for that, it would have been.
The same
that
problem
would've got
we
you
were
no-
having with the jig,
the tear out would be bad.
and it was burning, so the drill press is the best one to control the speed, and it didn't burn anything, but they need to be super sharp, and also the bits that I was showing are not the best either. These ones, I think they are more, with a better angle and sharper. But
Yeah, so the using on a CNC with like a 1/4-inch cutter and letting it take 20 hours would produce you would be able to see that it was wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other approach could have been with the ball ones, you could have done a
You get
spiral
triple
cut for each one to depth as well. Which would have got you closer to what your initial.
And Fusion can do that, but Aspire can't, interestingly. Aspire won't do anything smart.
Okay.
well, maybe if you cheat a little bit and you create like a rough.
You could just spiral out.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you do the rough pass, it goes like this. But I don't know, maybe if you put a very small and with a rough pass, and create that what you're saying.
When you start getting a bunch more requests from people who see that.
Yeah,
Hey, I have that exact same.
Well, I just saw how much furniture
Each-
charging
yeah.
this texture, and it's like for a credenza, like 5 feet, It's like they're charging $25,000. So I think I want to keep buying stuff.
Oh, you forgot to ask again, was that plywood you were starting with or solid?
Solid.
Solid, okay. Gosh.
Birch, right?
Birch.
Birch. Huh? Birch.
Birch wood.
But not the birch wood, yes. Yeah, but the best one is white oak. Bend, well, if you want to bend, because I want to bend.
It's not complicated enough to flute it, but again, fluting is
Yeah.
obviously the perfect place to start.
The second one is ash, but ash is now
Yeah, it's
easy to
rare.
find. All right,
Awesome, thank you, Adrian.
thank you.
As far as I know, there's not anybody else, is that right?
Now, is this the same as the Dev's interior?
It's very
Ah,
similar to
look,
that.
that's
right. Is that up?
I should show it.
Yeah, did they steal your design there?
I didn't know about it.
All right, internet people,
I
we're
think-
gonna ditch you.
well,
Thanks for coming.
Go back.